So tonight we're going to continue from last week. And last week we had the Ark of the Covenant and the children of Israel going through the River Jordan. And then they came out on the other side, and they're at this place called Gilgal. And I'm going to tell you very quickly why it's called Gilgal and what happened there. So when they got there, God had told Joshua that all the males needed to be circumcised, because these are the children of the people that came out of Egypt and wandering around all those years. Nobody was circumcised. So that circumcision was a sign of the Abrahamic covenant. And part of that covenant was coming into this promised land. So Joshua's saying, we are going to have the seal of the covenant because now you are fulfilling this promise that God has given you this land. And now you're free men, because the name Gilgal means roll back, and it means roll away the reproach of Egypt. They're free men on the promised land. This is a land that God promised to Abraham. And all that time they were wandering around in the desert, they didn't own anything. They didn't own that land. And now they're on their land. So Gilgal means rolled back, rolling back the reproach of Egypt. So then, they're about 5 miles from the west bank of the Jordan. And they're kind of between the Jordan and Jericho. And in chapter 5, verse 13 through 15, what happens is Joshua sees this man looking like kind of a warrior holding a sword. And this is what it says. And it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man opposite him with a sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua said unto him, are you for us, or are you our adversary? So he might be thinking, this is some warrior from Jericho. He didn't know who it was. It ends up being the pre-incarnate Christ. And he said, no, but as captain of the host of the Lord am I come. Captain of the host means captain of the heavenly armies, the armies in the invisible, the angels. That's what he's the captain of. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and did worship, and said unto him, what saith my Lord unto his servant? And the captain of the Lord's host said unto Joshua, loose thy shoe from thy foot, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. Joshua did so. So that confirms who it is. Because you remember that when he revealed himself to Moses in the burning bush, what did he tell him? Take your shoes off, you're on holy ground. And so what Christ is doing here, he's appearing to him to encourage him. I mean, he's going to be having a big battle. This is the first big battle in the promised land. And Jericho was an ancient fortress. And if they could get through Jericho, it would open up to the whole promised land. It was right on the border. So then he starts getting instructions from the pre-incarnate Christ. Verse 6, chapter 1. Now Jericho was securely shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none went in. So remember what Rahab had said? That everyone's hearts had melted because of what the children of Israel had done. That God parted the Red Sea. Everyone heard about this. And that they had killed several kings on their way, had destroyed these people. So they had a serious reputation, and these people were afraid. But when you think about it, this is a big city with a lot of people, and they would have an army, and they would have a king. And of course they were going to try to defend themselves. Verse 2, and the Lord said unto Joshua, see, I have given into thine hand Jericho, and the king thereof, and all the mighty men of valor. So God's telling him right off the bat, this city's going to be yours. But now, this is what's interesting, is the way that God decides to do this. Verse 3, And ye shall march around the city, and all ye men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shalt thou do 6 days. And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram's horns, and the 7th day ye shall compass the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. Okay, I don't know if you noticed in that verse, the word 7 was mentioned 4 times. And remember what we said 7 means? Anybody?
Perfect.
Complete. Like there's 7 days in a week. It means fully complete. So he says there's 7 priests, 7 trumpets. On the 7th day, you walk around 7 times. And this is showing you a little bit what that, no, I can't blow it. What that trumpet is like. They were ram's horns. So here are the instructions. And it shall come to pass, this is verse 5, that when they make a long blast on the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat. And the people shall ascend up every man and go straight up and take the land. So you got these huge walls. They're just going to completely collapse, and then the soldiers are just going to go right in, and God says they're going to be able to take it. So I'm going to give you some more information about how this is happening. And he said unto the people, pass on and compass the city, and let him that is armed pass before the ark of the Lord. So there's an order. He's going to have the men who are the men of war with the swords and who are ready to take over the city. They're going to be first. So the armed men before the priests that blow the trumpets, and then the rear word came afterward. So the way it's going to be is there's going to be all the armed men first, and then the 7 priests with the 7 trumpets, then the Ark of the Covenant, and then all the rest of the people. Okay?
And there are a lot of them.
And there's a lot of them. But he gives them some very interesting instructions in verse 10. And Joshua had commanded the people, saying, ye shall not shout, nor make any noise with your voice, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth until the day I bid you shout. Then ye shall shout. So they don't know anything. They don't know when this is going to happen, that he's going to tell them to shout. All they know is they have to keep their mouth shut and march. That's not easy to do. You know, when you're traveling all around that and you've got somebody next to you, you want to just whisper. No, you can't say anything. And just think how this would affect Jericho. They're on top of the wall. They're looking over to see what's going to happen. And here comes this parade of people, not saying a word. No wars of battle. We're going to get them. Nothing. They're completely quiet. But the trumpets are blowing continually. Now that would kind of sound weird. Think about it. I mean, not that the trumpets sound weird, but it would be weird to them because they're expecting a battle. And all they're hearing is trumpets. That's it. So on day 1, they circle around and then they go back to their camp. Jericho must be thinking, whew, maybe they changed their mind because this isn't war. Okay? Then day 2 comes. And Joshua rose, this is verse 12, Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took the ark of the Lord, and the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord went on continually and blew with the trumpets. Those trumpets were blowing continually. With 7, somebody could take out and take a breath every once in a while, but the trumpets would be blowing continually. And the armed men went before them, and the rear guard, or the rest of the people, came along after the ark of the Lord. The priests going on blowing the trumpets. And the 2nd day they compassed the city once, and returned to the camp. Now, Jericho has just got to be freaking out because this isn't the way you fight a battle. In fact, the children of Israel are wondering, how are we going to win a war like this? By not talking and just walking around the city. That's a lesson for them because God's going to honor their faith in obedience because they're being obedient to what God told Joshua to do. And that was to walk around the city once for 6 days. And then the 7th day, this is what happens. Verse 15, and it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time the priests blew the trumpets. Joshua said unto the people, this is the first order that they've had to speak, shout, for the Lord hath given you the city. That probably really scared Jericho all of a sudden with quiet for 6 days. And then the 7th day, when they think they're just going to go around once and leave, they go around again. And then they go around again. And then they go around again. Hey, their anxiety's building. Then they go around again. Then they go around again. Then they go around again. And then the trumpets have a long blast and everyone at one time shouts. This had to be a frightening sound. And then the walls went completely flat. How do you think that happened?
By the power of God.
Yeah.
Because remember when Joshua met that soldier who was the captain of the host of heaven, he gave this city to them. It didn't go down because people walked around it. It didn't go down because people shouted. It went down because the host of the Lord, the angels, lowered that. But remember who lived on the wall? Rahab, the harlot.
Yeah.
She lived on the wall, so you can be sure that her part of the wall was still standing, and she had put out that red cord, that scarlet cord, which represents redemption, which represents the blood of Christ. But one thing that was really great about this is that, let's face it, God didn't need their help. But he allowed them to participate. He gave them that privilege that when they shouted, that's when his angels went to work. And he does the same thing for us. He lets us do his work. He could just do it all by himself, but he doesn't. He wants to do it through us, just like these people. And there was something that I wanted to read here. This is the pulpit commentary. And it says, why did God command the long pause, meaning 6 days before they took the city? Even to teach us that his ways, God's ways, are not our ways, and that we had far better leave the issue in his hands than by our impatience, and not frustrate the course of his providence. There's a time to act and there's a time not to act. God's timing is not our timing. And Isaiah 55, 8 and 9, it says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, thus saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, think about that distance right there, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So something really great happened here. So they go in and they take the city, and they end up killing everyone. That's the way God wanted it. It says, and the city shall be accursed, even it and all that are in there to the Lord. Only Rahab the harlot shall live, and all that are in her house, because she hid the messengers that were sent. So verse 20. So all the people shouted when the priests blew with the trumpets. And it came to pass, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city, and they utterly destroyed it. In verse 22, but Joshua had said unto the 2 men that had spied out the country, go into the harlot's house and bring out thence the woman and all that she has, as you swore unto her. And they burnt the city with fire. Verse 25, and Joshua saved Rahab the harlot and her father's household and all that she had, and she dwelleth in Israel even unto this day, because she hid the messengers which Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. So she was a harlot, but you know what? It doesn't matter if you're a college professor, or if you're the president, or if you're a homeless person, or if you're a prostitute. We have nothing to offer to God. We don't have anything. He has something to offer us. And just like Rahab, it was her faith. And I'm going to read you in Hebrews. There's a chapter. It's called the chapter of the heroes of faith. And sometime this week, read the whole thing, and it'll tell you all the people that had faith. But I'm going to get to verse 30 and 31. It says, by faith, the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. Verse 31, by faith, the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. So the point I'm trying to make is that when you read that chapter 11, you're going to find out all of those people, they believed God. The formula never changed from the Old Testament to the New Testament. The sacrifice changed to Christ, and the law was done away with. But the people in the Old Testament were saved by faith, and we're saved by faith today. But the wonderful thing about today is that when we believe in Christ, the Holy Spirit comes and lives with us. Now I want to read just the last verse, 27. So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame was spread throughout all the country.